Hello and welcome to the Ohio Arts Council's Rife Gallery. This is the Interwoven Friends and Family Workshop with artist Sandy Shelenberger. Today we're going to explore encaustic collage as an extension of the exhibition. We'll hear first from the artist, then gather our materials and work through the project step by step. There are dedicated pause points in the video, but please work at your own pace and use this video as you need. All right, welcome Sandy.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Kat Sheridan and the Ohio Arts Council Rife Gallery for asking me to teach the Friends and Family Workshop. We did encaustic collage, and this is an introduction to working with the wax as a medium. When working with encaustics, you first want to consider safety, especially if you're going to do this at home. You want to have some good ventilation. And you want to keep in mind that the wax is hot and handle it with care. So just be mindful when you're working with it. Use pot holders. We use heat guns to fuse the layers together, the wax layers together, and the front element on that gets very, very hot. So do not lay the heat gun down on a table. You can also melt plastic on the table. Ask me how I know. So just use care around your wax and your tools, and any tools you use for encaustic should be dedicated to that process. And obviously, you don't want to use this around food. So you're going to gather your materials, and we're using encaustic wax medium. We're using the clear medium in this case, and clear medium is Damar wax and beeswax together, and that makes a hardened surface. We're using birch panels to do our collages on in this instance, and then we're using electric skillet or encaustic pallets to heat the wax. We use a heat gun for heating our layers together, and we use natural bristle brushes because synthetic brushes can possibly melt. And then we're using assorted items for collage items such as images, papers, threads, buttons, lace, trims. And the papers you use, you want to be absorbent. You want it to be like rice paper or newspaper works well. The thing you want to avoid is glossy magazine papers because those get wrinkled. You can use graphite sticks or carbon pencils. And then we use tape, painter's tape to tape off the sides of our boards. And then the polymer rib tool is also known as a Bondo scraper type of tool. And that's what we use to burnish the collage items to the wax panel. So our first step is in melting the wax, and the wax medium comes in pellets. So we put that in our skillet and melt the wax about 200 degrees. And then I like to tape off the edges of the boards just to have a clean surface to work with, so that wax isn't dribbling down the sides. I set the heat gun to low, and you want to heat the surface evenly and smoothly. So I say low and slow. I'm holding the heat gun perpendicular to the birch board or our substrate, what we're using for the collage base. And the reason you're heating the board is you don't want to put hot wax on a cold board. You want it to flow smoothly off of your paintbrush when you're putting on the wax. And then you're going to create your base layer. This is also called priming the board. So we're going to coat the board with wax, and then you're going to fuse it with the heat gun, doing it in the opposite direction that you put your brush strokes on. And that removes the brush strokes when you're heating it with the heat gun. And then you allow that coat to dry, and then you repeat the layers, alternating directions 3 times. Some people do more than 3 layers. I think 3 layers is the minimum that you should do for coating your board. And then the next step is we're going to add our collage items to our design. So we briefly covered elements of good design and composition. And you want to keep that in mind when you're making your collage. And you're gently heating the board so that you can put your paper down. So when you're gently heating the board, it's a light fuse. We call it fusing. It's just light. You don't want the wax to puddle. You just want it lightly warm to touch. And then you can put your collage item down, which you can see in the second photo. I'm pressing my collage item, which is on rice paper there. And then I put wax paper over top of that, and I burnish the collage item into the wax. In this case, I'm using a Bondo scraper, or you can use like a back of a spoon, and you're burnishing your collage item to the wax. And then the next step is to add a thin layer of wax to cover the element and to keep it to the board. So we're kind of using the wax as a glue to hold it to the surface, and then we're putting a layer of wax over top of it. And then here's some students working, and you can see they're in various stages. And some have layered several images on their collages, and some are using pencils and carbon. So everybody had a different look and layering to their pieces. And then the finishing details, such as metallics or lace or trims, can be added to your final layer. And then once the wax has cooled, you can peel your tape off the edges, and then your design is good to go. And then here's the class and all the results. And I think it's really exciting to see everybody's voice come through, even just in an introduction class. And that's one of the things that I really love about Encaustics, is there's so many possibilities with it. If you'd like to know more about working with me or what classes or exhibitions I'm in, please come see my website, sandyshelenbergerstudio.com.
All right. Thank you so much, Sandy, for giving this brief overview of Encaustics. Folks, if you enjoyed this, there are many more opportunities to engage in DIY workshops, and we have them all archived in our Facebook and our YouTube, so check those out. And if you make something, we'd love to see it, so make sure that you send it to us via email or tag us on your Instagram or Facebook with Rife Gallery. And a special note to educators, check out that archive because you have all that good stuff in there. So again, big thank you to Sandy for providing us with your time and talent and sharing this good stuff with us. Thank you to the governor, the legislature, and the Ohio Arts Council's board for supporting Ohio artists in this great space. And thank you again, Sandy.
Thank you so much.